things happen, but for them, they'll tell you, for them to move into urbanization, they must have the water. Our successes, we will name three. There are many. To the extent that we can convene and sit here, the cooperation is working. To the extent we had a first set of governors for 10 years, and now we have a new set of governors, and they have transitioned. We have a chair. The government now has been known for one critical project which we were able to work for 2 years with the European Union, where we secured 25 million euros or 3.5 billion shilling, which is a grant. And that grant is being run into 3 areas of the Go Blue economic growth, various interventions which are there, which I will not go much into detail. You can find them on the website of goblue.co.ke. So Go Blue Sea Land Planning, Go Blue Security, those are some of the interventions which are there. But that's a big success for us, I think a very unique proposition. And at this point, as the program is running into next year, we're looking at what we call Go Blue 2.0, which we're moving from a grant to now a conversation of blended finance. And that's the conversation which we're starting on here towards the larger Go Blue 2.0. Our successes too has been able for us to hold investment conference every year annually. The last one was in Tanariva, Hola, where we brought in various investors. We packaged the investment projects. We are here partly, and the team which is here is to collect investor-ready projects that we can package and have a conversation with investors. And this is one of our mechanisms which we've been very successful to do that. So we are on a harvesting process here for us to get 2, 3, 4 projects which we can put together and be able to take out there for investments. Another innovative idea has been for us to establish innovation labs in each of the 6 counties. And this has been catalyzed by the Go Blue project, where it has focused on about 5,000 beneficiaries, some for upskilling on one side, and the other side for micro, small, medium enterprises towards employment and income, working with the universities and the vocational centers that are run by the county governments. Lastly, as we move, one of our biggest accomplishments has been for us to have a common bill for all the 6 counties to establish a blended finance special purpose vehicle. So each county, as we speak, the counties have a common bill. 4 of them are on the front where they have enacted and they are in the process of operationalizing the investment corporation. So Tanariva was the first of the pack. They are just about to gazette their board right now. Kilifi, the same thing, and I'm sure Chairman, the Governor, will speak about it, where it is in ready mode. Mombasa, I think, is in front of the pack, and I have 2 ladies, if you could stand up, from the Mombasa Investment Corporation. They have an office, they have a staff, they have a board which is fully gazetted, and it's ready for business. Taita Taveta, I'm very, very proud, Governor. Taita Taveta, the governor on record time, he came in, he knew about the bill, moved in quickly, he just gazetted, and I believe we have the chairman. If the chairman of the Taita Taveta Investment Corporation, is he here? We invited him. But they're in ready mode for them to have this. So what does this mean? What it means is this region is ready to move with a conversation on blended finance, on really big investments. We can talk about the Go Blue project at 3.5 billion, but we can now talk about 10, 20 billion, 30 billion kind of investments which are coming in. And this water is one of them, which I think all the counties are ready for this. Lastly, we have a Go Kenya Coast brand. And the idea is to, you've heard about Magical Kenya, but the idea is each county governor out there needs to be able to market their county. And we want to give them instruments, we want to give them tools for this. So working with Magical Kenya, which have sanctioned the Go Kenya Coast, we are propagating this together with Portugal on Camões, where we have a tourism, culture, and heritage blueprint development, mapping out the cultural heritage sites, for us now to have a very unified approach in marketing this destination with the county governors as the patrons of this space. And to that we're building on 8 what we call magical destinations: the Diani cluster, which you all know, or circuit, if you may, Mombasa, the Kilifi Bay, which is those creeks, the very beautiful creeks, Watamu, Malindi, Ngwana Bay, Tana River Delta, Lamu, and Tsavo. So that's a whole conversation that we can have, but so far, these are some of the few achievements that we have had as an economic bloc. So with those many words, and as the chairman says, hakuna kizungu kingi, and I've spoken a lot of English. I want to stop there, but you know, to give you that a glimpse, and I get this moment to turn this over to the Excellency Governors who are here, and I have the very unique privilege to welcome the host governor of this place, a first-time governor, but a leader in his own right. He was the former MP for Mwatate, a colleague of that table there, and all the political leaders here. So let's clap for him, please. Governor Andrew Mwadime.
Thank you, Jumuiya, Excellency Governors, Executive who are here, development partners, and all stakeholders. I recognize you. Good morning. It's my pleasure to be in this symposium. As my executive, when he was praying, he said, water is life. And it is true, water is life. The first, as the host governor, we have not taken it lightly, lakini karibuni sana. Welcome to Taita Taveta. Welcome to Taita Taveta, because some of you, it might be your first time. Others, I know, maybe they've been here, but tumemkaribisha sana. Tumemkaribisha sana katika hili jimbo la Taita Taveta. You know, when you talk about water, me as the chairperson of the Council of Governors, in water, natural resources, forestry, and sewerage, it's really a big challenge to all these 6 counties of the coast region. And therefore, having such symposiums, I'm sure maybe we might mitigate this problem. In one way or the other, you'll find that all these counties, at the moment, the percentage of water which they have, maybe it is just about maybe 30% for only 30% of the population in their counties. It's not yet enough. We really need water in all these counties. As the status of Taita Taveta, it's really bad. We have everything. It's a water surplus account, but interestingly, it's not enough, or rather say, distribute to the people where it is required. Therefore, such symposiums, they are very important to us. In fact, Jumuiya, I'm requesting you, we should be having such symposiums regularly. Because if you talk anything about economy, if you talk anything about health, you cannot talk about them if there's no water. I think this is the time we should give ourselves timelines, whereby we say in 2 years' time the problem of water should have been solved. I went to Rwanda just the other day as the chairperson of Council of Governors, and I was shocked. In Rwanda towns, you can never go over 200 meters to fetch water. If you go to the village down there, you can never ever go over 500 meters without water. But interestingly, Kenya, getting independence earlier than Uganda, having many resources and economically giant, according to East Africa surveys, here in my own county, people go as far as even 20 kilometers to look for water, grappling with the wildlife. So our brothers, our sisters, our good friends, the development partners, this is a really challenge for us. And I'm not talking only Taita Taveta. I hear even Mombasa, they have a big problem of water. Kilifi, the same. Kwale, the same. Tana River, the same. Lamu, the same. So I think it's better we move on very fast and solve this problem. Like right now, we are depending on water on the pipe which was done 1952, Mzima 1, which goes all the way Taita, Kwale, Kilifi, Mombasa. But that pipe was done 1952. All the time it's breaking down. Last week, we had a nightmare here in Voi because the pipe had broken at the park. And more often, it breaks. So we are also requesting our development partners, if you can chip in, because that pipe was done many years back, it can be repaired. Or if possible, replaced so that it can supply water continuously. And the pipe, because us here in Taita Taveta, we solely depend on that water. And you know, the water which was taken out, it's very little comparable to the one which was left out. And you know, those days, the people who did that, they were very wise. Even they knew in future the population is growing. They opened up another pipe, just needs pipe to be connected through gravity so that you can add more water. But from 1952, nothing has been done. We are just depending on the figures of 1952. Taita Taveta is a water surplus account. We have Njoro Kubwa, which has more water than Mzima. But right now, and it is right in Taveta, which is the leeward side of Mount Kilimanjaro. It's interesting, lots of water is there, but even the people of Taveta themselves, some of them, they don't have water. So we are requesting our development friends, partners and friends, who they want to have positive impact in this country. Can chip in, let's come and talk and see how we can mitigate this problem. The topology of this country is so good. God endowed this country with very good topology. There are places which we have cited, like if you're going down from Undani to a place called Demba, to Mwatate, there's a big valley. When you're going to make a check dam over there, and normally when it rains heavily, this water, it is the one which runs right away to the ocean, doing lots of damage. And yet, if we're going to do a check dam over there, that water which can be tapped as per the visibility study which we did in 2015, it can irrigate the entire Taita Taveta, the entire Kilifi, the entire Kwale, even some water to Mombasa. But we are looking out such kind of project. There's one, as we're going towards Rombale, to Msau, there's a big well there. If we're going to make a check dam, it can assist the entire, these regions which are near here, because the river and the Lamu is quite far. And then you look some other projects on that side. So, good friends, this is a real challenge. And this time round, we don't want to be just talking. We want to walk. When we are talking, we ensure giving ourselves timelines as per when this project will be done. Because I've had so many talks before, but none of the projects were seen. I'm applauding the governors who are here. When you have heard the CEO of Jumuiya who saying the first set of governors training is when this region started. And it was the first region. But right now, it's really comparable to other regions. We have not moved far comparable to other regions. So all these governors who are here, karibuni sana na nashukuru sana. Karibuni sana. That's a very positive. My dear brothers and sisters, let's work together. There are many activities in all these regions, but in Taita Taveta, as I've said, we have it's a water surplus account, but we are and as our CEO for Jumuiya was saying, we have already formed that company. Even some of the members of that company are here. I think maybe they can stand up and maybe to be seen, because the chairman, I think, is not here. But there are some, plus advisor is here, Mr. Bill Lay. I think people should see, but already we have that board and we're ready for business and we want to move forward on the same. So I'm sure, go blue. In the next round, Taita Taveta, I think, will be also included holistically. Without much ado, nafikiri kwangu imeishia hapo. So I don't know what is the next. I'll call upon chairman. Then I'm calling upon, by the way, chairman for Jumuiya, you're the one to be here and invite us. But anyway, because I'm the chairperson, because I'm the host and at the same time as the chairman of Council of Governors on Water, I think you never messed up. So, chairman, and then you.
Thank you, our host, Your Excellency the Governors, the county executives present, the water boards, our partners. Let me take this opportunity also. I know already the host has invited us to this symposium. But let me also take this opportunity on behalf of all the county governors to invite you and welcome you to this very important agenda of water. First of all, let me start by saying that, as my colleague have just said, that we have the resource, but still the water scarcity in cost is really huge. As governors, the study we have done is we require like 300 billion to sort out the water issues in our region. I think the CEO alluded earlier that one of the issues I don't like, as not only as a chair but also as governor of Kilifi, that I really want to urge first our partners and also my colleagues that we have been speaking for too long. And I want us to end up now, which I tell Nzai always, too much English and focus on, instead of software, we go hardware. The issues we face, all the 10 agendas today which were presented here, the agenda of the Jumuiya counties of Pwani, they all require water provision. What I would urge, especially our partners, is that we start thinking of a BOT program on this water problem if we need to really sort it out. To have a program of build, operate, and transfer. The companies, you have heard already, Mombasa have already gazetted theirs, Taita is about to, Kilifi we're about to, so that we engage and see how we take forward this agenda. One of the agendas we are discussing now at the forum of the coast governors is to see how Coast Water company could be owned by the coast counties, so that when it becomes a private company, it will be easier probably to attract investors and have a guarantee on investment return when the investors put their money. This is a very big subject we are really debating as governors to see if we achieve this, then there's no investor who will be worried on how they'll get back their investment money, because the company and the whole coast counties will be able to guarantee returns and have contracts with the board. When we talk of the water, as much as we have scarcity of water within the regions, and this was said earlier by our host governor, that yes, even the little resource we have, we cannot get it to the people where it's required, to the people. Why? Because Coast Water has also not been able to do piping, which is a very big problem. The little water we have, still we have not been able to have enough pipelines to deliver it to the people at the grassroots. So this is one of the major investment we really think is required, apart from getting the water sources itself. We have a huge problem in this region. Our women, the girl child, people walk for tens of kilometers to look for this commodity. It has affected a lot, especially the girl child, because once the mother cannot do it, you will not see boys being sent to fetch water unless the family is all boys. So it's always the women and the girl child who are always sent overnight to look for water. So what do you end up having is you have this subject we always talk about, early pregnancies. The girl child does not go to school because they are the ones who are sent to fetch water. So this water issue, once we sort it out, we will sort all these economical ideas Nzai was presenting for this region, because we'll have more people involved on building our economy than having half of the population looking for water all over the place. When we talk of the investments with our partners, we are talking of them also being involved on the geological surveys, which we have started ourselves in Kilifi, and we are partnering with Danida and other organizations, so that first of all we have to establish also as counties where our water resources. But that's not all. After we have the water, as I've said, the main challenge, we still have talked, the government has talked of the Mzima 2 for the last 5 years or 7 years now. Yeah? But we have not had a solution and a way forward. That's why when I stand here, I hope later when the chairman of Coast Water gets the opportunity to speak, will be able to tell us what is the action plan. We have talked of Mzima 2 for far too long now, and it's high time to say, what are the timelines? When is this project starting? When is it going to be completed? so that we start having timelines on our programs also. The main problem we have always is, we want to change this, that we finish this symposium today, and when the next one will be next year, the other one will be 2026, then we are in for campaigns. We need to really have timelines and have matrix and who is supposed to action what, so that at the end of the day, we are able to account that when we start this day, this was the action plan, and now we have moved one step, second step, and we move forward. So I really want to urge all of you, as we deliberate on this very important commodity today in this forum, that we stay focused, and I know there'll be many presentations, but what I want to see happening today is that while we do presentation, let's not only lament of our problem, let's have solutions. So I would like to hear the presentations today to be more based on solutions oriented than only talking about. Us as governors, we have already talked enough of the problems we are facing with our communities on the water issue. So both our companies and our partners, as you come up, let's be solution oriented. What can we do to sort out the water problems we have in this region? How can we get our women and our girls now be productive in other areas than spending all their time looking for water all day, all night? With those very few remarks, I want to really, and I'm looking forward to have a fruitful engagement in today's forum, and hope by evening, when we have the other engagement with the other partners, we'll be able to probably say one or two things more on the same. At this juncture, I would really like to wish you all the best in these few hours we are going to have. We hope we'll have a fruitful discussions and come up with a way forward on solving our water issues in this region. Let me take this opportunity to invite one of my colleagues, the Governor of Mombasa, to also give his remarks, and then he will call in the Governor of Lamu, who is also the chair of the Blue Economy at the COG, also give his remarks. Thank you very much, and karibuni sana.
Hamjambo. Na hamu kuzungumza Kiswahili, lakini kwa sababu tuko na wageni, nipeni ruhusa niongee lugha ya Kiingereza. First and foremost, I want to take the opportunity to pass my appreciation to the people of Taita Taveta. Ndugu Governor, please pass our warm greetings for the hospitality of hosting today's symposium. On behalf of myself and of course on behalf of the people of Mombasa, some of who are ably representing others here, we want to say a big thank you to each and every one of you. I want to just give a brief so that you can be able to understand. We were having a sideline meeting prior to the commencement of the symposium, and we were asking ourselves on a number of issues and some of the solutions. One, is water enough in our counties? The answer is no. Two, do we share common infrastructure? The answer is yes. Three, can we be able to overcome? Without a doubt, with the right financing module, we can be able. And it is for that reason, as governors from the coastal region, our firm belief is that eventually what was once the glorious coast water has to be owned by the county governments from the coastal region who are currently using those pipelines. There is no other way about it. With urbanization going in place, with infrastructure, the need for water is even higher than ever. We have pipelines that are as old as 1952. I don't know if there's anyone here who was born by the time those, okay, we have one who was born by the time. One of about 300 people, that's not a bad, but you can be able to agree with me that those lines need to be replaced. We can either make arrangements and get another company to come up and start digging a new pipeline. We're going to have issues to do with way leaves, to do with land ownership, to do with so many other obstacles. Or we can run a parallel line along the same way leaf as we are also rehabilitating that particular line. And I think it is going to be important that we take that particular direction. Some of us come from counties that are blessed with the ocean. Lamu, Kwale, Kilifi. We have the ocean right there. And a lot of people are asking, why go through all this when you can be able to desalinate? Some will say that other countries in the world have been able to do it. One of the major factors in desalination is cost of power. In other parts of the world, in other jurisdictions, the cost of power is a fraction of what the cost of power is in Kenya. Is it economically viable? That is something that is subject to debate. Do we want to get people to have water at a price that they will not be able to afford? Or do we want to get water for only the rich and affluent because of cost of producing and desalinating that water is something that is extremely expensive? Mombasa currently gets about 50,000 cubic meters. Out of that 50,000 cubic meters, internally, as Mombasa Water Sewerage Company, we've already started. For those of you who live in Mombasa, you will see that there's digging going around, and we've already started changing those old pipelines. Why? Because we lose almost 50% of the water that we get. Almost 50% is lost because of old dilapidated lines. So as we are doing that, equally, whatever we are currently getting from coast water at 50,000 versus a demand of about 200,000 cubic meters, what that means is that at any given time, Mombasa can only be able to suffice hardly 25% of what it is that we require because of old pipelines. We need to look at water. It makes no sense whatsoever when we're going to lose water because of leakages. We're losing water because of using technology that has been surpassed with time. It is my hope and belief that all the water bodies that are here today, all the CECs that are here today, you've heard the voices of the governors. Please ensure that this is what you will be able to bring back to the table once you go back to your respective counties. How are we going to change the existing infrastructure in a cost-effective way so that we have a pipeline that is going to be belonging to each and every one of those counties. And that is the direction that we are giving as governors. And with those very many words, I want to again take the opportunity to thank the people of Taita. For those who are not aware, I've told this to your governor before. During my infancy, when I was a very, very young child, I actually lived here. The one who was nursing me was actually a person who was from Taita Taveta. And my parents tell me of a story that I was so attached to her that when she had to go home, I couldn't stop crying. So they let me go and travel with her. And I'm informed that I lived in these slopes during my younger ages for a good, I think it was almost about 6 months, where my parents were very, very comfortable here. So now I understand why I got a very, very decent night's sleep last night. I think my head remembered where it belongs. So thank you very much and be blessed. Asanteni sana. I want to take the opportunity to welcome the chair of the Council of Governors on Blue Economy Matters and our senior, the governor of Lamu, Senator Timami. Asante sana. Karibu.
Excellency Governors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I will Symposium to discuss water. I think first and foremost, we need to be serious about the issue of water. I had my colleagues speak. Some of us from Lamu County and Tana River, at the tail end of the river, every day, millions of liters of water get into the sea. Water that we really need. We had a prolonged drought. Thank God we received a lot of rain. Actually, we have floods in Lamu. But after 3 or 4 months, we will get back to our old situation of drought. So, what I'm saying, we need to be serious about the issue of water. I had the governor of Taita, our host, talk of damming water in Taita. We could similarly do that at the mouth of Tana River. And that water alone, we could supply the whole of Lamu, Tana River, and even parts of Kilifi, which border us. Water, as we are told, is life. And I want to concur with my colleague, the governor of Mombasa, that desalination is very expensive. We have islands in Lamu where if we dig boreholes, the water is saline. The only solution is to put small desalination plants, and I can tell you, they consume a lot of our resources. And we have to subsidize because people will simply not afford to get water if we charge the real price that it costs us to desalinate the water. And I am very keen, and I'm here
to also learn. I associate myself with the remarks made by our chair, the governor of Mombasa, the governor of Taita, that we need a joint approach to solve the water crisis that our counties are encountering at the moment. So I said, I will not take a long time. I'd rather sit and hear the experts provide us the solutions that we need to address the water issue. Let me also thank the governor of Taita for the warm welcome to your county, and I also thank your people. And I wish all of us successful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Your Excellency Governors. And without much further ado, we are going to get into the main program so that we hear. We've had our leaders in terms of direction and much of their priorities at this point. And I'm sure that is reflected in their CIDPs and also their budgets. The water companies are here, and we have a few partners. So in the interest of time and knowing that His Excellency the Governor of Mombasa will not be here in the afternoon, he has a funeral to attend. So we want to move quickly to have value for this conversation. So with your permission, I want to rejig this presentation a bit so that we focus on the cost of water gets to present. We will hear from the Children's Investment Fund very, very briefly. We'll give cost to water quite some time because they are very, very important and they have much of the institutional. And then we will hear also from Tahir Guzel of Caligan, so that we hear the private sector and we get a perspective of how this has been done out there. And then Eric of Kifwa will make also a quick 8 minutes presentation so that we have a perspective. Then from there, after the break, we can now go into the water companies, which I'm sure much of the Excellency Governors have interacted with the CEOs and boards, and then we can move. Let me just say that the water companies were specifically asked for the CEO and the chairman to be here, because those are the top organs. This meeting of this kind has never happened. And the idea is for us to move from here with very, very clear path where we can make decisions. So without much ado, my good friend Dr. Mwaringa, the chairman of the Coast Water Works, he's a new chair, one of our very own who just got appointed. He's been lecturing at the Technical University of Mombasa, a communications expert, and this is his first time as a chairman of this board, and we're really looking forward to his leadership. Dr.
Thank you very much, the CEO, Jumuiya, Kaunti za Pwani. Your Excellencies, the CECs, development partners, and all stakeholders, good morning. I'm going to make some remarks before I invite the CEO or the acting CEO to come and give the brief. But I want to say that I'm very excited, like everybody else, especially with the remarks that have been made by the excellencies here. It is a clear indication that we are looking and moving towards the right direction, because water is essential. And water is critical in terms of our lives. Therefore, I want to laud Jumuiya ya Kaunti za Pwani for coming up with this symposium with the theme Institutional Collaboration for Water Security and Financing. As Coast Water, we have the mandate of maintaining and managing national public water works within the coast region. And as you can see, you heard from our host governor, where he said that we have lots of resources, for instance, right here in Taita. But the big question is, how can we get this resource to ensure that it is sufficient? Maybe those are some of the discussions, honest conversations that we are going to have around this symposium. Because what we have right now, we are able to distribute 306 cubic meters per day. I mean, that is what is required. But what we are giving, we are able to supply is 180,000 cubic meters per day. And you can imagine what is the shortfall. It's so huge. This translates to vis-a-vis the population of 4.4 million, we've been able to take to 2.405 million people with water, piped water, which simply means it's translating to 55%. So I hear the excellencies when they talk about valid and legitimate concerns about what we need to do to ensure that water is a thing of the past. I've been asked to comment on what we are doing as Coast Water. But even in the background of the strategies that we have laid forth to ensure that we are able to facilitate and supply this water, we have been working with some financing agencies. The African Development Bank has been on the forefront. We have worked with the World Bank and the government of Kenya and French Development Bank. However, that is a drop. And that is why we need to talk to partners here and see how we can collaborate and put these issues of funding, because funding in every sector is an issue. So if we can collaborate and think of ways on how we can finance this, and one of the things that one of the governors talked about, for example, where we sit here, one of the biggest sources is Mzima. And again, you can see the person who constructed that, they envisaged that at some point we shall need more water. That is why they laid Mzima too. Unfortunately, we have been talking about this year in, year out, since time of we've been told here when it was put or constructed. But we are yet to see to it that Mzima too is functioning. It's not. However, we have made proposals, we have sat as a board, and some of these things it's not in my position to exactly say when, but I can tell you for free that the President, His Excellency President Dr. William Samoei Ruto, has this in his heart. And it's part of the plans. Mzima 2 is on the way. We have had proposals, and Mzima 2, if it is completed, you can see to it that it's going to alleviate some of this, perhaps not all. We are doing at Baricho also. We have actually constructed a tank that is will be able to supply 5 million cubic meters of water per day. And we have seen this. Your Excellency Governor Mungaro, I think we were with you, we've gone to inspect at Kakuyuni, and the tank is ready. The only thing that is waiting, or is almost on its way, is the piping that we have done 3.5. It's a bit slow because it's supposed to be a 29-kilometer piping. So there are interventions that as a board we have looked at. We are trying to see what can be done. We have done Pemba Dam in Kwale that was commissioned a month or so by the CS Alice Wahome. And this now is solving part of the problems of water in Kinango. They were not getting water, yet the water was coming from there, from Marere. But with the inclusion of the Pemba Dam, that has tried to alleviate some of this. But it's still a drop. It's still a drop. I'm saying this because as Coast Water, we are mandated with managing the bulk. And we partner locally with the WSPs, whereby we try as much as possible, bring that water to you, and then the WSPs also will ensure that the water goes to the local Mananchi. It is a symbiotic kind of relationship that exists. But I agree, as I come towards the end of my remarks, that with this symposium, we have lots of expectations and we need to have an honest conversation around this to see to it that how can we, as a board, how can we work with the county governments and all stakeholders and development partners to see to it that we tap on these resources, come with timelines, and see how we can go around this. Because we are committed as a board. We are a fairly new board, but these are some of the things that we have tried to go and investigate, see what can be done. We've gone round, and I'm happy His Excellency Issa Timami is here, because we are coming to Lamu also. We've been to Kilifi, we've been to Taita, but in the next 1 week or so, we're also coming, and we shall pay a courtesy call to see what it is that we could also do in Lamu, because we haven't been to Lamu and Tana River. And I'm happy that you are here, so that we understand that we are walking this talk with you. There are many things that can be done. There are many things that we can work with the development partners and everybody here to achieve this goal. We have talked about exorbitant power bills. That is true. We are undergoing that. We are also facing the same in Baricho. We are lucky that at Mzima water goes through gravity. But in Baricho we are paying very huge power bills. One of the things that we have decided as a board and we are looking into is alternative source of power. And we may we might contemplate trying to see if we can have a hybrid process whereby we have power and the solar. But all these are plans for the future that can be done. It has been done elsewhere, and we are willing to do it. In my concluding remarks, I am confident that we shall overcome all this, including the scarcity of resources for implementation of the projects as a result of the unreliable rainfall and prolonged droughts that have been talked about, the floods, and rising sea levels. This Jumuiya, and especially this symposium, is the key to ensure that we enjoy the right to clean and safe water in adequate quantities as enshrined in the Article 43, 1D of the Constitution of Kenya. But as a board, we are willing to have this conversation, we are willing to engage, and we are willing to listen, because we cannot work alone, we cannot operate without the wisdom of everybody that is in this room. We are not looking at confrontation, but we want to listen to one another. Because by the end of the day, we are all serving the same community in whichever capacity that we are in. So for me, I want to thank you very much. I want to thank Jumuiya ya Kaunti za Pwani for organizing this, and especially to look at the key issues of water as a resource, because water is life, and I agree with that. And if we can come up with solutions, then we will get it right. Thank you so much, and I hand over this back to the CEO, Jumuiya ya Kaunti za Pwani. Asante.
Thank you so much. Chairman, Coast Water. Because of the importance of Coast Water as an institution and what they are presenting, which we want to absorb, we want to call in the representative of the CEO, who has a quick technical presentation to make, and then from there we'll move forward. If you could...
Good morning, Your Excellency, the governors, the CECs, the chief officers, the chairman, development partners, ladies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Engineer Kanui from Coast Water. I have apologies from the CEO, Engineer Martin Isoma, who could not make it to this meeting because he had to go to Nairobi to meet the Parliamentary Committee on Budget. The meeting was urgent and he had to go. So I'm here to represent the CEO and to read his presentation, basically. So welcome. So the content of the presentation is as follows. We'll tell you the mandate as usual. We'll give you the coverage as at now. We'll also give you the status of the water sources. We'll also talk about the backwater system. We'll also discuss on the water service providers we have in Coast region, the current water situation, the need for investment, the projected water deficits, and the investment plans. And we'll also discuss the master plans, the current project, which is the Mwache Dam. And finally, we'll discuss the strategies on financing the projects. Next.
Yeah, I'm going next, but just for guidance and with the instructions that have been given, maybe with what you have, if you could go straight out probably from number 8 downwards, that could save us time. So we have a good 8 minutes for this. Over to you.
Okay. So, yeah, maybe you can pause there. We can up the story. So Coast region is very important, like the governors have said. The current population is 4.4 million people. The 2019 national census, the population was 4.3. Now it has grown to 4.4. Then the current demand of water in the region is 446,000 cubic meters of water per day. And the current production, which is the installed capacity, is 250,000. And the people who are served, the 55%, are about 2.4 million. We have no wastewater service or sewerage services because most of the people, 76% is on septic tanks. Next is the statistics. Okay. So we have the main back system, which is currently the main source of water. Starting with the oldest, Marere is the oldest, 1923. It only serves it gives us 12,000 cubic meters of water per day. And it is located in Kwale, Kaunti, at the Shimba Youth National Park, 40 kilometers from Mombasa. Then we have the Mzima. This was completed in 1957, having started in 1953. And this one gives us 40,000 cubic meters of water. It is 220 kilometers from Mombasa. Then this Mzima pipeline is the most famous. Then we have the Tiwi Bohos, 1975. It's also a small one, 10 kilometers, located in Kwale. Then we have the Baricho. Baricho is the biggest as at now. And the current installed capacity is 110,000 cubic meters of water per day. And it is 105 kilometers from Mombasa. It was developed in 1980. The population of the Coast region in 1980 was 1.1 million people. And the population of Mombasa specifically was 350,000 people. Currently, the population of Mombasa is 1.4. Then we have the proposed one. We have the Mwache Dam. This is the game changer. I will discuss it later. We have Musambweni. We have Ngaliseni Lamu. Governor is there from Lamu. And we intend to obstruct water from Tana River. Then we treat it and pump it to Mombasa. I mean to Lamu, 110 kilometers. Then we also have the Joro Kubwa. The governor of Taita Taveta talked about that. This is one of the biggest water sources as far as springs are concerned. Then we also have other small water sources. Not forgetting the ocean. The ocean is the biggest source, and it is, for that water to be potable, it has to be desalinated. Next. Desalination is an option, but it is not viable as at now. Thank you, Governor. So this is the back system, the integrated back system, which is mainly for the 4 counties of Kwale, Kilifi, Mombasa, and Taita Taveta. Then we have the water companies. I think we know them next. Then this is the current situation of water supply. Then the Yes, Your Excellency. The backwater company, the joint authority. There has been a discussion on this for the last 4 or 5 years. I think we also have the support of the World Bank and other partners on this. I think there's been a lot of discussion. The 4 counties of Kwale, Kilifi, Mombasa, and Taita Taveta are very much aware of this. Yes. So that one, it is also in the pipeline. Next. Okay. My chairman is here. He has taken note of that. So this is the current situation of the water supply. The demand is 446, and the installed capacity is 250. Next. Next. Yeah, so when you look at the calculated demands for the water sources and the counties, this is the situation. You can see in the national census of 2009, the population was 3.3 million people. When you project to the year 2040, the demand is increasing to 990,000 cubic meters of water per day. By the year 2030, the demand is 694,000, and the next 2 years, the demand will be 576,000. But we don't have those facilities, infrastructure to do that. And we are also aware of that. We have a big project in Lamu, the LAPSET. We are also aware of this water, when it comes eventually, the wastewater requirement will also be very huge. Next. So these are the graphical representation of the same. You can see the water supply is the orange, the deficit is the green, and the demand is the blue. The blue is growing, the green is also increasing, but the yellow is not increasing. It is like the famous paisley, which does not increase when inflation increases. Next. So this is what we have in place as a planning tool for dealing with these issues. The first one is we have the Backwater Master Plan 2014, which was supposed to be done such that the Mwache Dam was to be completed by the year 2020. Baricho 2 was to be done in the year 2025, and Mzima in the year 2030. As we talk now, Mwache Dam is still, it just started. And the president was there, and he commissioned the groundbreaking. So we are behind that planning by 3 years now. Then we also have a wastewater master plan dated 2017. We have a water and distribution master plan, as well as drought mitigation master plans. Next. So those master plans, we are just at the first phase of implementation. So this is the scenario. The graph to the right is also showing what we have done, and we are almost through with the immediate phase. Then we have phase 1, the Mwache Dam, and that is what we have discussed. So I said the Mwache Dam has just started, and we have the Mzima 2. We have a PIP, a privately initiated proposal, under the framework of the PPP Act 2021. So this one, the proposal was evaluated by ourselves, the Ministry and the Treasury, and the proposal was approved by the committee. Now it has gone to the stage of development. So in the next 6 months, up to July, we expect that proposal, the project to move to the documentation stage and go back to Treasury for approval. we expect that the project will be done in 3 years' time. So if we can do documentation and finish by this year, 2023, by the year 2026, Mzima 2 can be a reality. But before that is concluded, the timeline is still moving. Then we also have the Garisen pipeline from Gariseni to Lamu. So we also have another PIP under the framework of the PP Act 2021. So this is now this is still at the proposal stage, not yet approved by Treasury. We also have a proposal for the Mbaricho 2. It is now at the Ministry of Water and ongoing evaluation. Next. So this is the current situation with the Mwache Dam, the game changer. So without the Mwache Dam, this is the situation. Mombasa only gets about 50,000 cubic meters of water per day from Baricho. It gets 12,000 from Mzima. It gets 5,000 and 5,000 from Tiwi and Marere respectively, with a total of that. But this scenario is such that these schemes are refurbished and up to date. But of course we know that Marere has a lot of issues now. Tiwi also has issues. So the current water supply to Mombasa is about 50,000. Then this water also has losses en route to Mombasa and other towns, the transmission losses. Then when Mwache now comes, the situation will be that most of the demand for Mombasa will be fixed by the Mwache Dam, such that Baricho will supply Mombasa 10,000, and the Mwache will supply Mombasa 170,000. Then you can see for Mzima, Mombasa is 0. For Tiwi and Marere is 0. That means for Mzima, there will be more water available to Kilifi, Kwale, and Taita Taveta counties. You can see Taita Taveta will get 27,000 out of the 40,000. Then the same for Mbaricho. We'll have 90,000 going to Kilifi County. Then we have Marere, the same. 10,000 will go to Kwale counties. That is why we say this Mwache Dam is the game changer for the coast region. Simply because when it comes, the impact will be such that there is a project in Taita Taveta County, there is a project in Kwale, and also in Kilifi, because the figures will change a lot in terms of the water supply. Next. So this is the current financing. Currently we have the dam, the Mwache Dam. This is funded by a project called the Kenya Water Security 2. This project is domiciled at the Ministry of Water in Nairobi. The financing is 200 million euros. Then we have the Mwache water plant. This is with the coast water, together with the transmission pipeline, with a cost of 67 million euros and 121 million euros. Then we have the short-term works, the pipeline which we are doing as distribution with the water companies as well as ourselves, through a project called the Water and Sanitation Development Project, supported by the World Bank. So the total investment requirement is 435 million euros, but what is available is only the 200 and the 120 million euros from the AFD. And because of that, we have a deficit, a financing gap for the phase 1 of this project, which is about 106 million euros. As at now, we have been having talks with the European Investment Bank, the Treasury, and the Ministry of Water. Actually, the European Investment Bank is only waiting for the official request from Treasury. They are ready to finance that financing gap. So that situation is not very good. Maybe they say what you say is not what matters. What matters is how you say it. Maybe from this symposium, we will be able to talk in a different language so that maybe we can get more financing. Next. So this is also what I've said in a nutshell. To implement the Water Master Plan 2014, we require 136 billion Kenya shillings. To implement the Wastewater Master Plan, we require 103 billion. And to implement the Distribution Water Master Plan is 62 billion. Drought is 13 million. So the total capex requirement is 314 billion Kenya shillings. My chairman says it is only 114 billion shillings. It is not a lot of money. Because with this efforts and the synergies, we can get this money. We just need to talk well to our partners and the national government. So for the counties, basically what we are doing now is we have proposed from the water distribution master plan, the intervention required at that stage, at every county and every WSP. Also from the wastewater master plan, we have also proposed the investment requirement for that, as well as the drought mitigation. So like I said, the capex is 314 billion, and that splits to 211 for water and 103 for wastewater. Next. So these are the proposition we have, so that we can get that financing. And like about it, Governor Mungaro says we need to get out of the pipeline. I think we just, and we need to talk together. We need to lobby as a block so that we can get the financing. So this is our proposal. Maybe from it can be enriched, and it is not a lot of money with all our efforts combined. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Excellency Governor. I was anticipating that you would want to get some response. And
actually, I think we appreciate Coast Waters, but I think it is not going to be prudent for the counties to look for the funding without having first and foremost, as the joint governors, in regards to co-owning that element. So we're not going to be looking for that money without us having control of how the usage is going to be. I think this is a discussion, and I think as governors, maybe what we might need to be forced to do is working together with Jumuiya, and we're hoping that Coast Water will be able to support us, is we'll bring in a transactional advisor to advise us how we're going to be able to now implement this. We can't have something that is going to be on the pipeline for so many years without it being implemented. And from here, we've agreed with my fellow colleague, Mungaro, and I think this will also be able to be replicated by the other counties, that we're going to get our CCs to advertise for a transactional advisor, and from there, we now discuss on how we're going to be able to truly change the story of water without necessarily saying that we know everyone just goes and looks for money.
So thank you so much, Coast Water, and we really appreciate the content. There has been quite a lot of work done around that, and we appreciate all the technical people and much of that work which has been going on there. So now that we have had this, we want to quickly hear from much of the providers of services to children and the population out there in terms of the importance of water and its relation to people. The most important being children. We are all children to where we are. So with us, we have the Children's Investment Foundation. Leah Kibe, please come forward. We hear from you. Tuwapigie makofi.
Oh, yes, it is good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I stand here. My name is Leah Kibe. I am with the Children's Investment Fund Foundation. I head the Kenya office, but I also lead our work for co-funding and partnerships in Africa. Your Excellencies, thank you for this invitation, and thank you for inviting us to to walk around your counties. We've been so far to Mombasa, we've been to Kilifi, we've been to Lamu, we're in Taita Taveta tomorrow, and we're looking forward to meeting Kilifi and Tana River as well. I'm joined by two of my colleagues who I'll just ask to stand up and wave to you. So that is Simeon, who's the WASH manager, and that is Abraham from Ethiopia, who leads our WASH work in Africa as well. I'm also quite delighted that I'm speaking on behalf of the women, because I've noticed water seems to be a very gender conversation, but thank you so much for this invitation. So a few things I will pick from what we've had today, and also from what I've seen from Jumuiya. Jumuiya is all about changing the story. And I want us as SAFE to carry that tagline. We look forward to really changing the story for the coastal counties. And not only that, I liked that His Excellency Mungaro mentioned, if we don't change the story for water, the people that are going to be affected the most are children and the young girls. So for us and for my team, we want to change the story for our children and our girls. So as a global institution, SIF is headquartered out of the UK. I know from the visits we've had, everyone seems to be hearing about the Children's Investment Fund Foundation for the first time. But we've been in Mombasa and in the coastal counties for the longest. We've been one of the partners that have been funding the neglected tropical diseases. I'm sure your health counterparts would have told you about a RISE program, which has been giving the mass drug administration for our children in schools to deworm them. So that has been us behind the scenes. We've been in Kenya for the last 15 years. But for the reason why we are extending this conversation is what we also said. If we don't go to the root cause, we cannot sustain giving all these tablets about worms to our children. We have to understand what is causing this. It is about sanitation, and it is about access to clean water. So we are a children's philanthropic organization, as I mentioned, and we really hope that as a foundation and a fund, we will be able to allow our children to flourish, we'll be able to allow our children to be healthy, and also for them to be in an environment that is fair and as well as safe. But also the uniqueness of our approach is what we underpin. We look for the evidence, but we also go the longer mile through partnerships. And the reason for our partnerships, when we listen to the county, to the governors speak, we appreciate that the only people who will have a better understanding of the problem are the people closest to the problem. So we really have a strong principle that looks at very smart impact that is built on listening. To the far right of this slide, we have, in 2021, been able to make investments of about $700 million, and this is in 2021 only. In 2021, we did a disbursement of about 500 million US dollars as well. So SIF is in Africa, and in Africa we are in 4 priority countries, Kenya being one of our focus countries. We are also in Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Burkina Faso. Our investments currently in Kenya are about 25 billion Kenya shillings. We are also in London, in China, in Asia as well. So we believe that children will really focus where they are safe and healthy childhoods. Like we can see the children are thriving, going to school, earning livelihoods, etc. We also look for gender empowerment, and this is really a lens that connects the child to a point that the girl is actually thriving. And the elements of thriving, you'll see us making huge investments in education, in livelihoods, as well as their health. But also, we are so cognizant that we must build resilience in our communities. And this resilience means that communities will not be susceptible to shocks. Because you can imagine if we made all the investments in education, provided all the health investments as well, if there is a climatic shock or if there's an economic shock, then all those gains will be wasted away. So we are also quite cognizant that we need to build resilience in climate security, and we're also looking into as well as economic securities as well. So our lens in Africa is focused on 3 pillars. We have the Girl Capital pillar, the resilient communities, and the For Africa by Africa. I lead the For Africa by Africa pillar, and the For Africa by Africa pillar is really our foundation and our enabler. And what does For Africa by Africa mean? And let's even contextualize it for Kenya. If Kenya is not clear of its priorities, then even as funders, we are not building sustainable solutions. I liked when the governors were speaking about where the solutions will come from. The clarity of that leadership is what, as a foundation, we come behind to catalyze. We catalyze, be it through policies, through funding, but even through transformative investments. We really look at building sustainable solutions. We are very bold in how and where we invest. We can invest in areas where no one else wants to go, and I like when Mr. Nzai is mentioning about blended finance. From a financing route, we are the fast takers of that risk that no one else wants to take. So that is what we do. And then on the other 2 pillars, we appreciate the fact that the child is at the center of any community. When you think about the child right from when they were born, we look at investments that cover and strengthen those health outcomes. But the reality means that if we don't also place our lens in water, sanitation, and wash investments, there will be no way that that child will thrive in that community. So that is why the children are here to speak about water, to speak about sanitation, and to provide opportunities that allow to scale very sustainable investments. I will allow Abraham to speak a bit more about our water investments so far, and then we can take questions.
Thank you, Leah, and Excellencies, Sisis, and ladies and gentlemen. I want to extend from what Leah left it. We have been going around, the different counties, and we have seen the challenge and opportunities as well. As it has been repeatedly mentioned by Excellencies, WASH is a foundation for all other developments. It can be nutrition, it can be economic development, it can be education or gender equality. WASH serves as a foundation for all these developments. And today we are here to contribute for the solutions, as it has been already mentioned, especially for the long-standing challenge within the coastal county. And as Leah already mentioned, one of our pillars is resilient communities. When we say resilient communities, resilient to climatic shock, resilient to economic and political shocks. So we have been doing this in other countries, especially through our WASH interventions. We don't implement by ourselves. Rather, we implement through implementing partners. We are a funding agency, and we have multiple programs being implemented in the other countries. And maybe the previous slide, the previous one. So if we don't do WASH, even though we conduct mass drug administration for decades, it will come again. It will, the children will contract, the disease again. And one of the challenges, as the intestinal worms, trachoma, schistomiasis, because of the coastal area, our people are exposed to those kind of disease, and we need to address the root cause. the only way to address the root cause is improving access to wide services. And that's why we are here. And we have been implementing multiple programs, which I'll show you just in a minute. But we have also started our intervention in Kenya as well. As you know, our intervention in Kibera, we have started providing access to wide services in Kibera. But that program, the first phase, is almost coming to an end. But we'll start the second phase relatively bigger in size so that we can reach more people. And we have multiple programs in Ethiopia which are being implemented. Some of them to eliminate the transmission of schistomiasis and soil transmitted disease. We have been implementing that program for 5 years and with a total investment of $30 million US. And the good thing which I would like to share with you, we have raised the water supply coverage from 25% to 85% within just 5 years for 5 districts. So when we come here, we are coming here, with the same capacity and with the same technology, so that we can support the coastal county. The last. Yeah. So as you can see here, that's the first one. And at the same time, we have been providing access to water in all the schools in Addis, so that they can have a better access to wide services with a total budget of like 20 million. And the one here, this one, which we started a year ago, the Ethiopian government came up with around 111 million, and CIF contributed around 119 million. With a total of 230 million, we are working so that we can have universal access to wide services within 10 districts. So our plan is, to bring the same effort, the same kind of, approach here in Kenya, especially in the coastal areas. It's not, to implement one project here or another project here. Rather, our approach is a systemic kind of approach, so that we can address the challenge once and for all in a very systematic manner. For that purpose, we need to work together, and we need to address it from a systemic approach, so that we can bring a transformative change within these counties. So basically, that's what we do. If there's any question, would be happy to address. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that presentation. As you can see, those numbers are not in Kenya shillings. They are in US dollars. Probably if you calculate them, you'll get into your 430 billion, thereabouts. So thank you. We're looking forward to this partnership with you. And I know you're visiting Taita Taveta tomorrow, and then we'll have Tana River and Kwale left, so we'll get to do that, and we appreciate that. There will be dinner, and there will be more conversations around this, which we can look forward.
Maybe what I wanted to ask Sif, as we have this conversation, you said you can be able to help with policy and the way forward to move this thing they have in the pipeline of coast water for 5 years to get it out of that pipe. So you can partner with the coast counties. Yeah? We can have that discussion.
Why don't we give our mic? I think it's better she.
We are very deliberate to be in Mombasa, and any conversation, that's why I said we start with the need. We need to listen. We have worked on water governance policy areas, and yes, Your Excellency would be more than willing to have that conversation.
Thank you. So,
yeah, I just want to ask, I'm noticing, I think one of the ones that you've done in Kenya is the Kibera investment in the delivery of safe water. The concept of this, does it include working together with Nairobi Water, or have you done it in such a way that is it like a borehole where they, because I know it's a SHOFCO program, isn't it? Yes, and I know SHOFCO has also done quite a bit in Mombasa, but nothing to this extent. But I just want to ask, did you do this, did you bypass Nairobi Water, or did you do it by integrating it together with Nairobi Water?
Our second one, and hopefully our second one that we are very keen on is this one now at the coast. So that first investment is just for us to have a feeling of, entry to informal settlement investment. We also had a chance to visit Moroto slums in Mombasa the other day, so we saw similar challenges and opportunities. Five boreholes. We've sunk in another 5 boreholes. But moving forward, the boreholes in the slum setup are not sustainable. We're looking at reaching more than 300,000 people, 400,000. We're looking at maybe $40 million investment over the next five years. We want Nairobi Water to bring water in bulk to the slum. Then we'll do the distribution, because I know the challenges around the distribution because of land and all that, issues about cartels and all that. But we're able to work with SHOFCO, which is an indigenous organization. The founder has been born and bred in Kibera. So we see opportunities in the sense that we can partner with Nairobi Water to bring in water in bulk, and we can support SHOFCO to do the distribution, to cover all the schools, community members, health facilities. And we soon, we'll be talking about school feeding program. So the water will also support that program in the informal settlement. I hope I've been able to answer your question, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know that engagement could go on for a while, and we'll have more opportunity for that. So again, in very quick sequence, we're talking about innovative financing right now. We've talked about those challenges, some ideas of even how much it costs. So talk about innovative financing, the masters of innovative financing themselves. Eric, if you can take us through.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Chair, for having me here. Thank you, Your Excellencies, Governors, for attending this quite important event on this important topic. My name is Erik Labey. I'm originally from the Netherlands, but based in Nairobi already for quite some years. I'm the General Manager of KIFWA, which is a Water Climate Impact Fund, funded by the Netherlands. KIFWA stands for Kenya Innovative Finance Facility for Water. Next, please, Chair. So it was founded in 2017 by the Dutch, and we had a development budget of 14 million euros, and the vision was to set up a revolving fund, a water climate portfolio of private water projects, and to show proof of concept to pull in more of the private sector into the water space. Currently, we have a portfolio of projects which are as well based on climate adaptation and climate mitigation. we think, and I think that's also confirmed in this meeting today, that there is need for private finance for reaching the SDGs and as well to close the finance gap. As has been stated in previous presentations, but as well in the concept paper you have received in advance, there is like 300 Kenyan shillings, a billion Kenyan shillings needed to close the gap, to address the water shortage, which is about 2 billion euros, which is quite a bit. The water sector has shown also abroad that there are high social returns, but it has been difficult to finance it privately in Kenya. And this has to do with the high development risks and relatively low financial returns so far. And it has always been dominated by the public sector and grants. And that has passed a bit. Private finance is available, but the problem is, and there's a lot available, but the problem is a bit that it lacks bankable projects. That's actually what we have seen the last 5 years. How to do? Well, you need financial engineering and structuring expertise to de-risk it for the developers themselves, to de-risk it for the entrepreneurs, the Kenyan entrepreneurs who would like to be in the private water space. You have to de-risk it. And also there's a need of blending of public and private finance. So Kivwa is a co-developer. What we do is we take entrepreneurial risk together with a lead developer, with the lead entrepreneur. It's not us developing the project, it's an entrepreneur developing the project, and we co-develop and assist. We do that on a 50-50 base with a maximum of 500,000 euros each project. So we can bring in 500,000 for the development phase, and then also the entrepreneur can bring in 500,000, or it will be both 200. Anyways, it will always be 50-50. And project and businesses with a minimal size of 2 million euros, or at least a scalable size of 2 million euros. We provide financial engineering and expertise, and we mobilize finance for the implementation phase. So you could have a water treatment plant, might cost you 3 million euros to build that plant. Okay, that will work, because the 3 million is above the 2 million threshold we have. And to get to this project, you might need a development phase of 400,000 euros. Development phase including feasibility study, hydrological study, financial modeling, transaction advisory, legal advisory, all that stuff. That might cost you 400,000 out of the 3 million to build the whole thing in the end. Then we invest in that 400,000 to get this project through the development phase as quickly as possible and to de-risk it, so that another investor is willing to put in the big money to build this facility. That's a bit how it works. We step out in the end at financial close with a premium, or we stay in with a bit of shares, or it can be a bit of both. We work across the whole water sector. As long as there's water in, it can be irrigation, it can be wastewater, it can even be port development or ferries. Name it, as long as water is in the picture. Next one, please. So far, we've invested 14 million euros in the development phase. So as I said, to go through all those development steps and have been able to reach in the end a portfolio of 200 million euros. So we have quite a bit of leverage. It's a factor 14. So to pull in the private sector, you can use this leverage. You use relatively small money to de-risk projects, to bring them through the early phase of a project, so that it becomes a bankable project for bigger investors. Because most of the entrepreneurs, if they knock on the door of a big fund, they will say, it's a nice idea, but please come back when it's not a greenfield project anymore, when you have de-risked it. So that money is available in the market, lots of money. The private money is there, and they're willing to invest. The problem is only they don't want to invest in the early stage when it's risky. So that's what Kivwa is doing, to bring those risks down in small steps, so that we get it to a point where we say, okay, now there's a financial close, now there is a big bank or a fund or a donor country willing to put in more money. So currently we have 14 projects in the portfolio. You can read yourself in which water spaces they are, having a value of 200 million euros, while we were only putting in 14 million euros. And then with the factor 14, we brought in more private finance. Next one, please. So as agreed with the chair, I would like to be brief, but I made at the end 3 slides about how to close the finance gap. And of course, I'm very brief, and it might sound a bit simple or perhaps even a bit blunt, but we can always elaborate later on during whatever breaks. For sure, to get this 300 billion Kenyan shillings and to close that gap quickly as possible, and not being dependent on donors and grants, you need the private sector. That's clear, I think, for all of us. And they're ready to invest. As I said, the money is there. I'm on a weekly basis, I'm talking to so many funds and banks worldwide, and they're all keen to invest, but not at the early stage, not so much. They want to de-risk the project. So they will also only step in if there's a profitable business case. So as we are always talking as well about public-private partnership, it can only work if there's a business case. And so there's always need for concrete business plans, which can be verified. So sometimes people come with nice ideas and they say, well, this is a great opportunity. Please, private sector, step in. They will only step in if there's a proper business plan, which can be verified, and when there are not that many risks. It is as simple as that. Otherwise, they will not step into PPPs or whatsoever. What we also see that funds, big funds, are often felt too rigid and difficult to match. So the size doesn't match. Yes, we are interested to invest in water projects, but from 5 million and above. Oh, sorry, your project is 4 million, doesn't fit in. We are keen to invest, but only if it has an agricultural angle, and this is another angle. So we've seen it's quite difficult to match with the big funds. And it has to do, like I said, the size, the guarantees, the phase they would like to be in. Next one, Chair. So a leverage will help to pull in more private sector money. And as I said, you can do that through de-risking. Make sure you have a proper business plan, that licenses are in place, that there are MOUs with the government authorities, and so on, to give comfort to those investors to put in the money. Could also be like long-term lease of land, bulk offtake agreements with the public water service providers, making use of existing facilities like already existing pipelines or kiosks or whatsoever. Come to agreements. Make projects scalable. That will really help. If you come with a concept and you say it's scalable, we can do that in all 6 coastal counties, and within the counties we can also scale, the investors would be more keen to put in money because they have big amounts to spend, but what we've seen, when they go to their boards, they're also not able to deploy the money. So their investment committees and their ICs and their boards, they will also say, how can it be? We have such a big fund available for the water sector. How can it be you have not found any project in Kenya? And that has mainly to do with the matchmaking. So if you know the trick of the matchmaking, it will go way easier, simply said. Also prevent investor fatigue. It's also what we've seen quite often. And that is, of course, has to do with government. The speed of government, consistency among the 6 counties, within the county, within all the authorities within the county. Uniformity, pragmatism, all those things will help to speed up. Because once you have approached financiers, once you've approached those investors, and you wake them up, and they might be interested in your project, if it takes too long, they get fatigued. And we've seen they move to other places, other countries, other fields, and it's quite difficult to get them back to the table afterwards. So the timing is also quite important. What we do with KIFWA, we really try to wait to the right moment to pitch the project to the market, because there's only a small window in which they are interested. And of course, there's the role as well for the government to keep speed, because actually you have only one momentum to pitch your project. As well, make use of innovations. I think it has been said before in previous presentations. Things are improving. I agree with the governance and previous speakers that desalination is quite expensive. We've also seen that if you do it state of the art, it's improving and getting cheaper. but we're not always using this state-of-the-art knowledge. We also see that solar is improving. Also, the output of solar is improving. One solar panel is not the same as another solar panel. It has to do with also the techniques behind. So, yes, I agree. Desalination might not be the single way to go, but we also see improvement in that sector, and it will be more and more affordable through time. What we, for example, also see, we already see it in the area around Navasha, where the flower farms is, that on the big water catchment, they put floating solar. It will help to decrease evaporation of your catchment, and it will increase the production of your energy of the panels. So those are just some examples. As well, there are new types of gravity pumps, really reducing the cost of transporting the water through pipes. And also those kind of companies, they knock on the door of Kivwa to pitch their project and to make speed on that. So let's make use of that. Of course, a bit of an open door. Significantly reduce non-revenue water by making use of smart metering, digital water metering, so that you're quite sure where is the water leakage and that you are quickly there to get the water back in the pipe. Combined approach, last but not least. Globally, we see more and more policies where they try to do combined approach for drought and floodings, simply said. So you can make projects to prevent flooding, and you make projects to prevent drought, but the ideal, the sweet spot is where you make combination of the two. And I think we can also, of course, gain some experience there and make use of our money in the best way. And I took a very simple example, but just to give an idea. If you do agroforestry, let's say uphill, up in the hills of the Taitas, for example, you will slow down the runoff of water in the rainy season, which prevents flooding. And at the same time, you're refilling the aquifer. And at the same time, you're doing reforestation. And we've also seen projects where at the same time, you get additional revenue through carbon credits. So it's like you're ticking several boxes in one project, which would be a better way than just plant some trees at a random place, so to say, and do the water catchment more downstream. There are ways, and there are quite some good policies being made now around the world to work more with a combined approach to achieve more with the same amount of money. I think this was my last slide. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much, and very valuable out there, Governor.
I just wanted to, I saw amongst the things in your portfolio, you had the water transport system, you had quite a number of, and it's a 200 million euro portfolio. But what, unless of course there's that level of privacy between yourselves and the people you're signing with, but what it didn't give us is where you've already signed this off with.
Out of the 2 million, 200
out
million.
of the 200 million, because I'm just interested, because in terms of water transport, there would probably be just two counties that would work very well. That would be Mombasa and Lamu. Kilifi, of course, because of the different, the creek area. So I don't know the water transport where unless it's not Kenya, was that in Kenya? Or
Yes,
the whole
it's Kenya. One is in Makueni.
For the water transport?
Yes, but of course not like county-wide, right? It's a sub-region of Makueni.
Oh. Okay.
And there we have received some draft term sheets on that. So we have done the whole development phase. Actually, we're now putting it in the market. We've received some draft term sheets for the bigger investors to step in, and then we can start building the water catchments, water treatment, and water transport. And the other one is where is the other one? The other one is in close to Nakuru, but a bit of a smaller one. Yes, and then I think there's also one in the integrated water resource management. That's the project what we do with the Water Resource Authority on smart metering, which is countrywide.
Thank you.
Your colleague.
Just return back the slide which was, combined approach where possible, find solution for more than one problem. You see, in Taita Taveta County, the topology is very good for such kind of a project, because right now, when we receive the rains, a good example, it is just about a month ago. You know, we had stayed 6 seasons, almost 6 seasons with no rain. And when it just came for one day, it, you know, from the hills it comes down, and in fact, we lost some people because of the water, and then it disappeared. And there are some areas, you know, we have very good valleys, where if we're gonna do check dam, we'll have lots of water. And when it rains, normally that flow is the volume is so high, such that it causes a lot of damage downstream, up to here in Voya, even down coast. Maybe on the same, on inbox, maybe later on you can look for the CS, for the Executive Committee of Water, and I've got an advisor called Billy. Billy, you're looking at your phone, you're sleeping. Yeah. Maybe you can, on an inbox, you talk to them to see how maybe we can partner to solve that problem, because it comes in year out. Yes. And yet, if we're going to do those check dams, it will really solve very many problems. And at the same time, this water can be used for irrigation around.
No, I fully agree. What, of course, also sometimes the comment is on the very short-term measures we are taking with drilling more boreholes, is of course in the end making the groundwater levels be lower and more saline, right? Of course, for the short term it's a solution. It might be in some areas, it might still be a solution. But some people also say, like, if you go more towards this kind of solutions, you will refill the aquifer, and already that will help with the existing boreholes not to dry up, not to become saline, instead of taking a short-term measure, which might be the solution, but in 5 years' time, we're even more down the drain and in more trouble. So that's why you see policies coming up now around the world. Of course, also in Europe and in America, actually all around the world, we're facing these problems with floods and droughts, that are really looking for combined approaches where you can tick several boxes and do more with the same. And I fully agree with you. Such kind of concepts in this county would work very well. Yes, thank you for your comment.
Yes, and we work with the talk, not just talking and then just leave it pending. We work there, we talk and act. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Eric. We clap for him, please.
Thank you.
Just a quick note, and I'm glad it's that slide for the county investment companies. What I'm seeing here is these are bankable projects which can be packaged. There are 3 of them. You know, the water meters, the whole integrated approach to agri-forest and all those can be packaged and they could be costed, and we have already partnered to do that. So I want to open this up for some quick comments. I know, Bill, you had a thought. I see a hand here. I'll take 3 to 4 quick comments or questions, and then we move forward from there.
Okay, good afternoon. And I did take note of what my governor mentioned a minute ago. But look, I wanted to try to talk about the elephant in the room. And some of you who know me will have to forgive me for what I want to do here. I had conversations earlier with, well, I'm always talking to my governor. I'm an advisor to Governor Mwadime, by the way. That's my work. But I had a chance to spend time with the governor of Kilifi in his own place, some month ago when we were launching water projects. I've had a chance to know some of the other governors who were here today, but one thing happened today that has never happened. In my 35 years in Kenya and my 12 years in Taita Taveta, I heard 4 governors agree to buy coast water. Did you hear them? Is there anybody here who didn't hear them say that? Okay, I can see you later, Tom. I'll brief you. Because for me, as a private sector player for 35 years in Kenya, now retired and working here in Taita Taveta. I live in Wundani up in the hills where the last presenter was talking about capturing water. But without, I was formally, and I don't want to get into all this, but I think I have to say it. I was appointed by President Kenyatta to be the chairman of the Water Sector Trust Fund. I think you guys know about WSTF. They work with the donors. They've been working, doing the same thing for the last 30, 40 years, trying to develop water resources in Kenya. And in the 6 months or 7 months that I was in that job, because my appointment was revoked by our new president for reasons that you can imagine. But the fact of the matter is, while I was there, I learned a few things, especially from my friends at Coast Water, where I got a lot of information about the data that was presented earlier, how much water we have. And then our new PS, Dr. Rono, who you've seen in the newspapers, his initial effort was to go after non-revenue water. And so I'm happy to do what I can to help the 4 counties that would like to invest in Coast Water and the transactional advisor that they'd like to select, and understanding that there's already some work underway, a joint committee for 4 counties to work together to solve this issue. Because for me, the key is to get government out of water. And the elephant in the room is that most of you, I'm no longer in that group. I no longer have a political allegiance. I'm working for an independent governor. So I don't have to worry about ODM or UDA or whoever. I don't have to worry about whether I'm a shareholder in Kenya or not. So I can act like a private sector investor. And the money that can be made from managing water properly in the coast, I just need another minute, huh? Okay. Is, for me, phenomenal. And I've done a business case with some of the guys at Coast Water. The big issue is at 55 shillings per cubic meter, you can't make any money, but at 80, it's a very good proposition. At 80 shillings per cubic meter, you can easily replace all the pipeline, do the infrastructure. You can do all those things if you're a well-run private sector company. But the decisions that are taken that I saw during the last 6, 8 months of my time in the Kenyan government for the Ministry of Water were all political decisions. It wasn't about water. It was about, I'm a board member of this, I'm a this, that, and the other, I've got to do this. I'm an MCA hired by these guys. So all of the good decisions get watered down. So I don't want to get into all that. What I want to do is congratulate the 4 governors who are sitting there, who have just told us 2 or 3 times in this meeting that they'd like to privatize Coast Water. That's the best idea. And everybody in this room that cares about water in the coast should be working only on that issue. If you're working on something else, okay, maybe it's important. Maybe there are some side issues that will be important. But later on, and I'm not quite sure when, we have Culligan here from America. And as I raised my hand that I was the only one in the room as old as Mazima 1, 70 years old, when I was a very small boy, 5 years old, I learned about Culligan. Culligan was water in America. They have been forever. So if you have a private sector investor or other private sector investors, along with the guys who are stealing 50% of the water in the coast, make them shareholders. They don't want to steal water. They steal water because they can. And they sell it to people because people need it. So our governors have the right idea. So I want everybody here to suggest that we move along quickly, find this transactional advisor, do the deal, bring in the private sector, keep the politics away from water, and I'll guarantee you that we'll be successful in the next 2 or 3 years. So those are the comments I wanted to make.
Thank you. Thank you, Lei, for... It's not working? Can you hear me? Or this thing is not working? For your contributions, and now because 4 of us will be engaging the EU, they are here now, and after that they'll be touring the Taita Taveta County, and we meet again with them in the evening. We'll join this forum again after lunch. I think the only person who will be away is the governor of Mombasa. So at this juncture, we would like to request that the various management, water management teams from various counties to be able to present, and the CECs while we are engaged in the other meeting, and then we'll continue with you immediately after lunch. So from now on, probably the CEO will call the various companies from the counties to present to our partners who are in here while we engage in the other meeting. So you'll excuse us for a... Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, governors. And we know the Governor of Mombasa also will have to depart, so we thank you for that. Tuwapigie makofi magavana tafadhali. Yeah. I also would like to recognize the presence of our PS, our very own here, PS Shedrack Mwadime of the Maritime Affairs. He is here with us, and he has come. PS, if you would just probably stand up and wave. I know you'll be speaking later today. Yeah.